Hello and welcome to episode 372 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. I'm Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
I love that. So jovial, so full of life, so Dan Butcher. And we're also joined
damn
by...
sexy.
So
Dan sexy.
Dan sexy, Dan right. And, of course, we're also joined by a man who has a dirty basement, but don't worry, it's only full of comics. It's Mr. Tony Esmond.
Boney Desmond in the house.
Yeah. Boney Desmond. I mean, that's a fairly weak pseudonym, isn't it, if you choose to...
Yeah, you'd probably see through that one, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We hope, wherever you are in the world, you're doing okay. If you're in the UK, we hope you haven't sweated all of your body weight away, because it's we're going through a bit of a heat wave at the moment. We're in a room together, and it's like a sweat lodge. We're all topless.
We're in the paddling pool together.
Yep.
I've wanted to go to like a sauna and tell that fucking joke. Oh, it's like a sauna in here, but I haven't had the opportunity to do so.
It's like my favourite story is I say to people, if you go down the Haymarket and go left at the top, it's like Piccadilly Circus up there. And I said it to a cab driver once. He went, "No, mate, you can't go up the Haymarket. It's one way."
Went on foot, you fool.
Yeah.
It is Dad Joke Week here on the ACB. What am I talking about? It's Dad Joke Week every damn week on this show.
Yeah.
But this show is also all about comics. And it's just the three amigos this week. So expect tangents, laughing at our own jokes constantly for the next couple of hours.
We're not going to moan, we promise, because we had a little moan between us.
Yeah.
So we're back to just happy people.
Moaning, the great moan is a slippery slope, and I'm not sure I can get through an episode without having a little bit.
I bought a load of erotic comics today, so that might help you.
Oh, brilliant. We keep on saying we're going to do like the erotic comics episode.
Well, I've been buying them, ready to go.
Yeah.
I've been buying them.
Yeah.
He didn't even know about the episode.
The warehouse where you keep all those erotic comics looks something like that warehouse in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It looks like it's been hit by a paint gun. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what's happened there.
Oh my god! Oh, I feel sick to my stomach.
There's been a game of paintball outside with white bullets.
Yeah, you should never paintball near comics, people.
No, don't do it.
Unless you read them digitally. And do you know who offers a great digital comic reading experience?
Is it Comic House?
It's Comic House, our lovely sponsors. Yes, Comic House, an indie comic marketplace, and sponsor of the show. Thank you very much to the guys from Comic House for helping out our little show. If you go to comichouse.com itself, there's a huge selection of titles on their database. If you self-publish yourself, list your book on there. It's another avenue to get your work out into the world, as is the great and fantastic Comic House app. For only £3 a month, you get access to an enormous library of digital indie comics, which is being added to all the time. Like, what's on there at the moment, Dan?
Well, we've got a new title added, Cinevore, issue 1.
Oh.
The story synopsis. In time, the dinosaurs will be wiped out by a meteor crashing into the Earth. But not this one, not yet. In the age of the dinosaurs, and a strange emerald meteor is hurling towards the Earth. At the same moment, a boy from the 21st century, Zeph, mysteriously falls from the sky into the prehistoric past. Trapped in this dazzling and dangerous new era, how will he survive? Who is the timid, frightened dinosaur he immediately encounters? And perhaps most of all, how will the two of them outwit and defeat the terrifying tyrant of the land, the giant evil skeletal T-Rex known as Cena? That's written by Joshua Spiller and art duties by Richard J. Waugh. So
did you say
check that one out.
Did you say the skeletal figure was named Cena?
Yeah.
Like John Cena?
Cena as an S-I-N-A.
I was about to say.
I like Cena Grace.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if it was John Cena, they wouldn't be able to find them.
So on this page, obviously, I've got Google ads on, and I presume it's based on my search history. And I've got a large-breasted woman giving a man a massage that says, Mayfair, Kensington, Westminster, help soothe the tension or pain away, Nick Old for Mayfair. And obviously, it's a massage service.
I mean, you're a proper player. I just get adverts for sheds.
I'm going to right-click, open in incognito window.
You have had a little insight to Dan's life there while he was reading our sponsorship ad. So thank you for that, Dan. And
Bloody hell.
Thank you to Comic House for continuing to support the show. To start your 14-day
I'll turn the
free
porn
trial.
off.
Look, I'm going to get through this. To start your 14-day free trial and dive headfirst into the amazing world of small press that we talk about every week, check out comichouse.com.
Talk quicker. Very good.
I didn't know if either of you two were going to interrupt me again.
No. If you're interested in
that's rude. We
getting
wouldn't do that.
a massage by Nicole, go to artofmassagebynicole.com.
Hey,
That sounds like a lovely thing.
She's not sponsoring the show.
No. But
I can say I've never had a massage.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Do you want one?
I had a sports
Yeah, right.
massage the other week, and it felt like I'd done 10 rounds of an all-in wrestler.
Oh, did it? Is it quite
Yeah.
hard going?
Well, that was...
Well, sports
kind of
massage.
yeah.
They're basically like smashing you up like a bag of crisps, aren't they? Really?
Well, it's hitting you with hammers and
It
things.
was
Yeah.
like I had a kink in my shoulder neck.
Oh.
And the lady was kind of
I
like...
always knew he had a kink, Tony.
Yeah.
We've known.
We've known.
I came out just absolutely like I'd taken a massive amount of drugs. I don't know how I drove home.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get home and then not realise how you got there?
No, it wasn't that bad. It solved the problem, so I was fucking grateful. Yeah.
No, I've never
That
had
wasn't
one.
by-
If anyone wants to give me a massage, then please ring me.
Do not open
Cool, then.
that door, Tony.
Yeah.
Don't open the door, man.
You tell me. You keep telling me, don't open the door, Tony.
Don't open the door. Security
Oh,
lock.
I'm meeting up with one of the listeners this week, and you always go, "Don't fucking open that door." What have you done?
Thank you for listening, everyone. We love all of you. But yeah, this week we thought we got a couple of questions, and we got a little a sort of topic we thought we'd have fun
Yeah.
sort of discussing.
Before that,
But before that, we went from great comics on Comic House to an absolutely must not miss comic that we talked about.
yeah, which
fairly
the first
recently.
issue of which is available on Comic House.
Yes.
If you wish to read it,
Good shout, T.
you got a subscription. DUI 2 is now up on pre-order.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered mine, and so should you. I've got a bit of a bet going with Eamon about how many pre-orders we get. It's duicomic.bigcartel.com, and it does give you the option of doing a digital or a physical copy on there. And the first, if you aren't a member of Comic House, you can get the first issue, if you haven't got it already, on digital on there as well. So go there. If you press on it, you can go to the pay for page, and then it gives you the option of adding a couple more issues if you want to buy 2 or 3. So that'll always be a good thing as well. But definitely get your copy, because I genuinely think it's worth it. There's some good stuff in there. Yeah.
Not only great comics, money to charity. It's
Yeah,
a
and
win-win.
Exactly.
The Cancer Research UK is a charity for this one.
Yeah,
So that's
£3 from each sale goes to Cancer Research UK. So support comics, support charity, and just read some great stories as well at the same time.
Damien mentioned last time
everyone wins.
3 is going to be talked about next year. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, he's looking for stories now already. Yeah, so
I'm slapping on the gun belt, ready to go.
yeah, we've all got things to talk. We just had a little talk about it, actually, thinking about it, didn't we? Yeah, so to get your phones out, everyone, and type in DUI comic bigcartel.com, and you'll be able to get a copy while you're listening to this. There you go, or pre-order
links-
it rather.
Yeah, links on Twitter, Slack, and the Facebook group. So go check it out.
Feel free to retweet them, etc. Whatever people do.
Share to your Facebook page.
Press the bell. I don't know what that means.
Dear God, just listening to you two. So.
Do a boomerang on your Snapchat.
Yeah. Have a rumble on your Bumble. I don't know.
I said that to Adam when we were on holiday, and he went, "It's just words. You don't know what it means."
You're right, Adam.
Yeah, quite right. Too.
What a thing to say to a writer. Oh dear, a writer.
I rarely describe myself as a writer. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
I write stuff, but I would never go, "I'm a writer."
No.
It's weird, isn't it?
yeah.
Why is
I don't
that?
know
Are you opposed to it?
No, I just sort of never think of saying that. I do comics for fun. It's about where I'd go for it, really.
So when, like in the past, like when I've written the intro to this show, and I've called you like the writer of such and such.
Oh, that's right. If I'm the writer of such and such, that's fine. But I would never give myself the title of. It's not like, to me, it's almost like not saying artist is different, because you actually do sit down and have some skills and you've had training and stuff. I just sort of fucking.
I don't talk about myself that way either. T. I don't say I'm an artist.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel
it's slightly pompous, isn't it, and self-proclaiming.
I think it's the old school for me of like, if I'm not paid a job or work for it, that's not what I am. Maybe that's old school thinking.
I think in my head I sort of hear some kind of Blackadder-esque character going, "But I'm a writer," and I think, what a twat.
What,
Yeah.
That might be upbringing as well, because I've got that same fucking hang up.
Yeah.
Have
we're in
any
the
of you lovely people out there have you ever introduced yourself as a writer or artist, or have you met anyone who has, and what has that person been like? Please do let us know, because it'd be quite fascinating.
I always imagine the follow-up question was like, "Oh, we do that full time or something." You're like, "Oh no, do us."
Yeah, you must make loads of money off that. No.
Yeah.
Really. Comics, innit?
Yeah. Speaking of comics,
yeah.
What do we want to start with some questions, or do we want to start with our little topic? How do we want to do this?
What should we do? What questions we got? Did we get some questions? We got the topic, haven't we? So I posed you guys a topic thing, didn't I?
Yes.
Should we start with that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about it, and I can't remember who I saw someone say it, but it was like there's a lot of comics out there now, aren't there? And there's a lot of comics that I kind of feel guilty for not having read sometimes. And I posed the question to you: is books that we always meant to read, and then we may end this with a challenge. We'll see we decided 2 minutes ago we might challenge each other to do the ones that we regret never having read. But is there anything that you look back on and you think I almost feel guilty for not reading it, you know, or I really think I ought to have read that, you know?
Mine's. Shall I jump in first?
Yeah, go D. Yeah.
Saga. I've not read any of it. I don't know what it's like at all, and it seems to be one of those ones that's always being talked about. And you got to read Saga, you got to read this, and I've never read it. I couldn't tell you why. I always think, I'll read that one day, but never got around to actually scratching that itch, as it were.
Okay, and I know did Eamon bring it up last week, didn't he? I think for being a good price.
You must have done, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it's not to the point where I'm fucking beating myself up over not reading Saga. Do you know what I mean? It's just the fact that so many people talk about it in a positive light. I think that
bit of FOMO, maybe.
Something there. I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. It's an okay series. I mean, I read the first 5 or 6 issues, and then something happens, which I think for me was a bit like that. People describe as that Walking Dead moment, don't they? Where there's that thing that happens, I don't know, 30 or 40 issues into Walking Dead, where something really horrible happens, and a lot of people jumped off because of that. And there's something that happens in. So I won't spoil it for you, or for people who haven't read it. But there's something that happens in it, and I went, I don't really like that. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I jumped off. Yeah.
Is the Walking Dead moment the one that was in the TV with Negan? Is that?
There's quite a few in the Walking Dead. To be fair,
the main one for me was the lady holding something. That one. I don't think it's in the TV series.
No, because I only read up to a certain point on the issues, so I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah, there was also. I mean, it's been years, but there's the child killer. At one point, there was that.
Oh, okay.
There was a big bit like that was quite impactful. I mean, this series is like bloody 10 years old now that we're talking about it, but yeah, lots happens in that series.
It can be easy to kind of step over the line in regards to stuff like that. I mean, there must be times where you guys have been reading something and it's like, that was too far, that or like that joke, or just
I don't know. I think it's because I had the sensitivity to it, because it was, I can't not really say on the air, but it was in regards to something that I had a passion around and was part of my work.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Have you read Saga V?
I have read it. I sort of
like the first trade or something.
The first couple of trades, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. It's another classic example of thoroughly enjoyed it. Fell off it for a little bit, and also Saga had that big gap. It had sort of the gaps between the arcs got a little bit bigger, didn't they, each time? I think, and I just sort of.
It dropped off for years, didn't it?
Yeah,
it went to spirit. It's only really back now.
And I know it's die-hard fans are extremely happy to see it back, which is brilliant, which is what you want, and like it's great. I mean, I like the fact that like it's an original story. You know, it's got such an audience, and I love that there's that they're still making that. But when I fell out of it, it was just purely one of those. I read a few, and then I just didn't go back. There was lots of other books. It wasn't like there was no real "this isn't for me anymore" moment. But because of the nature of that story, I almost feel like I have to go back and start from the beginning if I'm going to read it again. Just so
I do that with some things. Yeah,
because it's a story that's so pure about the characters and the character journeys that everyone goes on and the things that happen, that if I picked up now, I've lost the connection to characters that I would have had.
I do that with comics now. I do that with. I have to go back and reread the last 5 issues of The Flash or something. I think, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's difficult, and I mean that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult with a lot of like the bigger publishers' characters, because they're changing from issue to issue, like month on month. So if you miss a couple of issues, you'll start reading about a stranger. Do you know what I mean? And then like, if it's a character you're passionate about, how does that affect your readership?
I think the way that comics are written has changed that as well, because it used to be every comic is someone's first, so you could jump into Marvel or DC comic, couldn't you? And you would, even though they were, it was a team book and there was characters and you didn't realize, you just went with it and you kind of were interested in them, and you couldn't always get hold of the previous issue anyway. But the way that these things are built now, they're built to be addictive and to build up the story, in the same way that fucking TV is on Netflix and stuff, isn't it? So you have to have that connection with the characters to keep going on it. And the writers, I think, there's almost a selfishness where the writers expect you to know everything about that character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of that going on. Yeah. I'm not saying that's particularly Saga, because Saga's got a reasonably small cast compared to some things.
I feel like Saga at the moment is almost, and I could be wrong, like I say, I haven't read it for a long time. It's now a story that is written for the people reading it.
Maybe
I've been reading it from the beginning. And I think that can be something, especially, and we've talked about these longer series, take it, for instance, like a Scalped or a Preacher or things like that, wonderful stories, and a lot of these stories we followed them from the beginning, but it gets to a certain point, especially when you're in your penultimate arc, for instance, the one before the final, you're writing it for the people that are reading your book.
Okay.
I find some of those stories. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like Jason Aaron's absolutely smashing it with Scalped, but the last 2 trades in that series, and this, look, I've read the first one. I love Scalped, so this one isn't my choice. But the last 2 trades, would you recommend them to new readers?
You saying they're a bit indulgent? Would you say?
I wouldn't say indulgent, but the fact of like you're so you don't come you. If you watched the last season of Breaking Bad and that's the only season that you had, you'd have no context for everything leading up to it.
Yeah, that's how it's built, isn't it? It's silly now. Yeah, it's almost like built to be a mini-series, everything like that.
Yeah.
Because you can't possibly go back to the start of the Avengers and read everything. You can't do it with action comics. It's just not. It's not built like that. Although with action comics, you do have to go back about 6 months to start reading there to get any clue of what's fucking happening.
I think that's why I'm drawn more to the series that have a finite lifespan. Do you know what I mean? Like
my recommend is exactly that. Wait till we get to my recommend, because that's exactly the point I make with it. Yeah. Something that's fresh. You don't have to read anything else. You don't have to know anything else. You can just go and read this and have fun with it.
That kind of, you can dip in any issue, and it's or say a mini series of a character, and it just jumps from mini series to mini series.
Yeah,
it's like if you got an idea for this character, you come pitch it. So that's good. Okay, you got a mini series for the Punisher or Daredevil or whatever.
I think it's one of the strengths to one of your favourites, Dan, Invincible. That was a series. They could have still been rinsing that money now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who knows what it would have been. But they didn't. They ended it. And because there's an ending to it, you tell me, Dan, the arcs that go through it sort of fit together better?
They all tie up, they all end. I mean,
but saying that the last 2 trades, would you say to someone, start here, or would you say start earlier?
I wouldn't say get stuck in those last trades, but you could pick them up and read them and have fun and get on board with it quite quickly. But obviously, if you're kind of like near the end of, was it 200 issues for Invincible? I forget.
Was it 120 or 150? I think it's
something. So like those last ones, obviously all these plot lines are tying up. Yeah. So you're getting the punchline to the joke, but none of the setup.
Yeah, and bigger IP characters don't have this luxury, and it's a luxury of that there's an end point to the paragraph. Do you know what I mean? To your story, there's the last page of the novel, whereas a Captain America, when that finishes, there's got to be a next one coming out next month.
Yeah,
there's got to be something new.
Which it's one of the reasons I like manga, because I know there's obviously exceptions like Dragon Ball that's gone on and on, but they seem to have an idea. A creator has an idea, and then it has a limited run.
I know it wasn't created by Vertigo, but that's why Vertigo was successful for a lot of people. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So many different flavors as well, wasn't it? Of Vertigo. It's like, well, you know, if you like your punk rock, here's this. If you like something a bit more cerebral, here's this.
Because
you know,
I always feel that you got to trust the creator in as much as that. Like that, right, here's the story and here's the end, and there's no more.
Yeah.
And people will always want more. If it's really good, people always want more. But then you're going to fuck it up by potentially fucking up by carrying it on. Do you know what I mean?
If it's like a perfect little thing, like prime example, Master of Kung Fu, just leave it alone.
Yeah,
it's a fucking mess now.
It's done, man.
It broke my heart, man. Yeah, just let it be that nice thing. Leave it alone. There's no need to go back and make Lord of the Rings 4 as a novel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we're in a strange sort of time for these series like Saga that have these arcs that are part of a finite story, as it were, because it felt like there was so many around at one time, weren't there? There were so many different books and stories like this, but it feels like a lot of the books that are at the moment that feel like that are only in their initial stages, so they're not at that, God, have you read volume 5 of this? Everyone needs to go back and read volume 1. It feels like a lot of the stories that we talk about that are quite exciting are around a volume or two. And
it's weird, isn't it? I wonder if that's because sales are such that the companies that are putting out these, you know, series aren't getting traction for them. And sometimes there is a case of like creative teams as well. Some of these stories that some of these people that are creating these books that feel very Vertigo and stuff like that, you know, like the Vault comics, the Aftershock, AWA, these sort of people,
you know, their creative teams are putting their heart and soul into these books, and as a result they create amazing stories. Do you know what I mean? You know, like Dark Ark and things like that. That's stuff like that's wonderful. But because it's so good, they get snapped up by bigger publishers. And because they have to do that, they can't, you know, they've got to try and balance it.
The counter argument to that is Miller. I think Miller is doing that, and he's creating an event with each thing that's catching. So Magic Order, you know, these sort of books, Prodigy, Nemesis is coming back. You know, this sort of thing. There's some real... He's catching lightning in a bottle and going with it and running with it.
Exactly. And it's wonderful. And I love that he's doing that. But he's also Mark Miller and can afford to do that. He is the master of his own destiny, for want of a better term. He's like, all right, here is what I want comics to be, and I can create it.
It's weird that we've got this one man who's done well, you know, he's doing well for himself, who's doing that, but you've got multi-billion dollar companies who can't fucking do that.
Who can't do that.
I know. But yeah, I think I think Saga is worth picking up, Dan. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, let's challenge Dan to read it then. Let's say you got to read the first volume. How long should we give him? I'll write this down.
I reckon
probably by the end of the week.
Bloody hell. Bloody hell. I mean, I think this should be the next 3 months.
3 months?
3 months.
Okay.
I'm writing this down.
I put an order in now.
Yeah.
Oh, you gangster.
Yeah.
So volume 1 Saga, yeah?
The beauty of that, Dan, is it's an image book, so it's probably like 50p for the first volume, because that's how they get you.
Yeah. It's not a lot. I think it's only like, is it 5 issues in volume 1? I think something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've got
the first 12 issues or something. I wonder if I can flip them. Flip them.
Yeah. So I think that's a good choice, and I know there's a lot of our listeners who are fans of it.
Yeah.
So you know, be interested to see what your verdict.
I'm not giving a downer on it. It's just a personal thing. It just I didn't like that. So
and that's the thing about a lot of books. I mean, my list. I mean, I'll segue onto my one very shamelessly, but my list is filled with so many classics. Do you know what I mean? So many the holes that are on my my bookshelves are filled with ones that like, you haven't read that. No, I haven't, because I've been reading other things. What are you saying? Sorry, I'm confused. Have you got the book and you haven't? No, I don't have the book. And lots of them I didn't seek out. And obviously, when I was younger and reading books as well, my attention was drawn to, you know, I was deep in the weeds of X-Men and stuff like that when a lot of these classics, you know, Wizard was talking about Watchmen every 5 minutes. I was like, that's very nice, but what's happening?
I mean,
in the
period about 83 to about 90, 91, 92 is so a formative, seminal year, isn't it, for comics? Yeah. There's so much of what we now call as classics came out in that period.
Yeah. And there's some of that I will say isn't for me. I'm gonna be open about it. I mean, there's stuff that I haven't read that I should read, but also I probably won't get out of it the same that a lot of people will get out of it.
Okay.
So, and I think that's true for everyone. I think if some people are going, oh, you should read this. Oh, I think V for Vendetta is this, that, and the other. Yes, it's a classic, but not everyone is going to like it. And if you don't like it, don't worry about it.
Are you leading up to admit you haven't read Wendy Whitebread, Undercover Sluts?
Oh, I've got 5 volumes of that. Well-worn volumes of that. No, Tony bought me all them all.
Yes. I just researched the upcoming episode.
Yeah. He's got to buy me 2 copies of each because the first one gets absolutely ruined. No. No, my choice, though, and I've said it a couple of times, the thing is, I would have picked, for instance, Jeff Smith's Bone on this list. That would have
been... We read that recently.
But that is... Ian Matthews, God bless you, man. You said, this has been on my bookshelf for ages. Here, take it. I know you've always wanted to read it. And I was like, oh my God.
Did you do that voice?
Yeah, I did actually. I'm not
nice.
I'm not ashamed.
No,
so, and of course, I then got Razzle. Is it Razzle?
Razzle Reader's Wives.
Razzle Reader's right. Is it? How do you pronounce it? It's Razzle.
I think it's Razzle, isn't it? Yeah, RASL though, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's not
Yeah.
Razzle Dazzle. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was gifted to me by someone here. I say here. We're not actually here. However, one that I have mentioned
very different.
several times,
That one is very different.
Yeah, one that I have mentioned many times, and it's usually brought up a conversation afterwards, and certainly with certain episodes, is Akira. Never read it. I know that is a whole thing in itself.
It's a big read, that man.
That's a big read, but how is the first volume as a read? Do you know what I mean? Will I? I was also of the age that when the formative years, you know what I mean? When I was in that sort of loving the X-Men phase, the manga phase came about, and of course you had the animation of Akira. And what is this? It's amazing. I didn't even know there was all these books that came, that it came from. And I know you get there's the wonderful sets that people have made, but what is that first book like? You guys have read it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I read it in the prestige format. Still were coming out, so I haven't read the whole thing, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It's just I just never went back to it. It's one of those I read
quite slow.
5 or 6. Yeah,
it's quite slow.
That's my fear, and I think that's my fear for a lot of these.
But the art's good, man. I think you'll drink the art in. I think.
Yeah.
You can see why it kind of had the impact it did. I think mainly because of the back of the film, but Otomo's work is just fucking great.
Yeah.
It's such a kind of like long form story, not like kind of say Domu or something like that where you can pick it up and you've got the hook straight away.
Domu's a nice 1-volume creepy horror book, isn't it? Yeah.
Akira kind of not it takes a little while to get going. That's the wrong thing to say, but I would like to see what you think when you get it.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, I'm also, because of this series, and because when you know the animation and stuff, I am so naive to the story itself because I know it's so much bigger than what the animation was. I know there's so much more to it. There's the books and everything else is going on. I don't know how long it is. I know there is several books to it. Whenever I hear people
there's a big box set of it, isn't there?
Yeah. Whenever I hear people talking about it, though, it feels like it's still going. Do you know what I mean? The reverence that people have of it, it's like, bloody hell, this story is very...
Where the film ends, it's only about the halfway mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, it all carries on from there, and there's lots of changes, but...
So are we going to say Volume 1 then?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, looking at it as I look now on an unnamed marketplace, I see that the print length is 352 pages.
The dark web.
Of the volume.
But most of it is not text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it's not
that's
a quick read like some manga, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not a really dense read either.
Yeah.
How much is the first volume, sorry?
If you want it just standard, it's £17.77 as I see.
Okay.
On eBay, it's a tenner.
Oh, is it?
Second hand. Yeah.
He loves a bargain.
Well, I'm off to eBay then. But yeah, I think just purely because I think in terms of just being not educated is the wrong term, but it's one I would like to just get context for. And there are some stories that I haven't read, but I won't. I think Akira, I'm more in line to get something from it than some of the classics, which are, well, you know when you have some pieces that have you have the comics and then there's a massive amount of prose in the middle.
Yeah.
That sometimes I can't get into that. My brain just sort of like that stops.
Oh man, the amount of comics I've absolutely adored, and I just cannot be bothered with the text pages. And I've made one. Yeah.
Because I know Watchmen's got a whole portion, isn't it?
Got loads. Each
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
So when you go read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, that's got fucking loads in it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all like cursive script. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like a textured background.
Monster had it as well, didn't it? The Barry Windsor Smith book.
Yeah.
That had that as well. And even that I fucking found boring.
Yeah, I struggled with that. I read that basically in a day. I was fucking hooked. When those bits come up, it was like fucking slamming on the brakes.
Yeah.
But I knew it was integral because it was there in the book. Like the creator chose to put that. So yeah, not a massive fan of stuff like that.
Yeah, Morrison did some of that with some Batman comics he wrote as well, and it's like, nah, mate, can't be bothered.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, if you love this stuff's great, but it just sometimes feels to me a little bit self-serving, a little bit too much. Well done.
Well, I'll read forwards and I'll read. I'll read forwards and I'll read like creating stuff, conversations and interviews in the back books. But if it's some like short story, I'm like, fuck, man.
Yeah. To anyone listening to this episode, we would love to know if there's certain volumes. It doesn't necessarily need to be a classic book either. It could, it just could be a graphic novel or a series you like that have done something like that really well, and you want to highlight. And perhaps we should go back and take a look at a certain page or two of prose. Please do let us know. I'm purely thinking it's a context thing as well for me. Because I know either in certain, which is it? I think it was a Punisher War Journal, not War Journal. Garth Ennis. There was the back matter about the Vietnam War, wasn't there? No,
okay.
That wasn't Platoon, but I think it was in was it Valley Forge? Valley Forge. That's
Bourne.
Yeah.
Punisher Bourne.
There's a prose piece in that, isn't there? I think.
Yeah. At the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I've read through that.
Yeah, but that's also at the end, though, isn't it? It doesn't break up the flow of anything. I can't remember.
Yeah, he's with the Derek Roberts. There's a bit of back and forward, like how he drew Frank originally, and like he drew Frank looking fucking mental from the start. And he went, no, it's not about someone who's mental and then goes off the rails. It's about someone who's relatively normal then goes off the rails. So you need to kind of tone that down a bit, which he did. But,
it's almost like if you're reading a comic and it's like, here is a page from Joker's diary while he was in Arkham Asylum. I'll get fucked.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
What purpose does that serve?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a nice extra to add into things, but it's not. Don't break up your story with stuff like that. Otherwise, we all love our characters. We all love the stuff we create, but don't. If you love a character, don't detract from the main story by trying to do something that's going to...
We'll send comics, there's that rule like show, don't tell. I feel like that's a bit tell as opposed to show.
Yeah.
If you're trying to illustrate kind of Joker being a bit nuts, you would show it in the comic. Don't sort of stick in a letter saying, oh, I'm fucking really nuts. Let's kill Batman, etc. Just, Could be wrong. Might be done really well.
Yeah.
But...
So I will try Akira Volume 1. That's what.
There you go.
That's what I will.
Good
try.
stuff. Yeah.
See?
I've got these down. So I've actually got a date for these. So I've got the 13th of November. It's 3 months' time. So that's a Sunday. So we get them done for then.
3 weeks' time. 3 months. Oh, okay.
I know you'll have done by the time we go to Beddy Buys tonight. You'll have read yours.
Yeah.
I'll have to reread it before we do the show.
Well, you might be on volume 4 by then. See how addictive it is.
Yeah.
It might be, because it does have that quality, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Shall I do mine?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Mine's actually a whole genre of comics. And I think it's because when I started reading comics sort of early to mid 70s, Marvel UK had just started. Then shortly after that, you got 2000 AD and stuff like that. So there was plenty for me to read. And I kind of thought that this genre was a bit old and boring and a bit old-fashioned, I suppose. And mine's war comics.
Okay.
as a kid, there were a lot of war comics about, especially, well, in both UK and US comics. In UK, I often say that I think war was kind of our superheroes over here for a period of time, because you had books like Battle and Warlord and Commando and Victor and this sort of stuff. And you had all that stuff going on about the war, which was our comics, humor, and that were our comic genres, really. And then, but in the States, you also had some stuff like Sergeant Rock, Our Fighting Forces, Weird War Tales, GI Combat, Unknown Soldier, Haunted Tank, all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sergeant Fury and Italian Commandos. And I kind of used to be, because you only have so much pocket money, you'd end up back then you could buy comics in newsagents. You'd be in the newsagents and you'd pick you'd buy the 4 you could afford, and then if you went back later in the week, you'd get the 4 that were left, and it was always the last one to buy would be the war one, and often and I've since to be fair, it wasn't until my 40s, I hate to admit this, but it wasn't until I was in my 40s I actually read Charley's War.
God, I was really late to that.
Yeah. It's a funny one, isn't it? And
it's that fucking trope of old men getting into war.
It is a
bit. My dad
isn't it?
used to fucking watch war films all the time, and I was like, oh, whatever, man. But now, I did that a couple of weeks ago. I did just watching classic war films.
Yeah,
and it's great.
And I was reminded, because I know everyone's going, oh, why didn't you watch that? I hadn't seen Band of Brothers until 2 weeks ago.
I've not seen that,
and that's incredible.
Okay.
I never, because everyone goes, oh, you should watch it. I'm always put off when people say that. It just annoys me. I
think I've cursed you with that fucking Nice Guys DVD with that curse.
Oh yeah, high expectations.
yeah.
It's sitting here staring at me. Yeah, I must watch it. But a few weeks ago it was wrong, because we watched it over a period of a couple of months, really. But especially the first 4 episodes of that, I was just gobsmacked how amazing it was. It does have that. Admit a little bit. Me was thinking, we're fucked if we go to war now.
Oh,
These
mate,
men, no one put themselves to that. Yeah, but it's incredible, and it got me thinking about Sergeant Rock. I think especially Sergeant Rock, weirdly, because a few years ago I dipped my foot in and read a few, and they're not. I wish I'd read them earlier, because they're not what I expected.
Right.
But I haven't gone back to it. But there's some real, when they go to concentration camps, they talk about spies. The treatment of women during war. There's all this thing goes on, and I really do need to go and read 50 comics. I think read 50 of these war comics, whether it be UK, US, bande dessinée. We read one. I think you read it as well, Dan, didn't you? Shigeru Mizuki's book during our manga month. Yeah,
that's
and that's
you could
another
do
one, sort of.
an NIA special month of war, like one from the UK, one from
it's not a bad shout.
Europe, one from US.
And the problem with UK comics is we could never find them again, could we? That was always the way. But slowly, they're coming out now through Rebellion. Not everywhere's putting them out, but we talked about that last week. But through stuff like Rebellion and, thingy of British comics, we're seeing them slowly coming out now. So I think I might give it a go.
I got kind of put off war comics. Not put off, but there was Viz used to take the piss out of war comics. And I thought what they took the piss out of was what war comics were. And they're not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Suck on this, Fritz, Daka and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's not quite like that.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine there's some good stuff and some not so great stuff, but and some stuff that perhaps crosses the line with racial stereotypes and stuff like that. But
getting shot, got in Himmel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Eamon showed me the cover of a comic last week, a few weeks ago. And I'm thinking, we can't. He kept showing it to me in the pub and going, look at this. Yeah,
I looked up the other day. While I was watching these war films, I was like, why are the fucking American GIs, none of them wear their helmets with the straps on? I couldn't, it kind of got me. I was watching these films, they're like, none of them got it. And I was like, that's accurate. And I looked it up, and it's because during some testing of it, there was one GI who had his helmet strapped on, and there was an explosion near him. And by a random twist of fate, the updraft caught him in his helmet, twisted, and he broke his neck.
Oh, right.
And that fucking went like wildfire through the ranks. It got out. And from that point on, no one put their fucking helmet on and secured it because of that fear of that happening. It's like it was a random one-off thing that happened, but it permeated the consciousness of the armed forces, and none of them did it.
Okay.
Which fucking seems nuts.
Yeah, it does, but it's little nuggets like that, man, that we're missing out on. That we would have found out by reading these comics. Cause,
you'd like to think,
First World, Second World, Vietnam, Korean War, this sort of thing. These were covered, but I didn't have that benefit of learning history through comics that a lot of kids would have done.
Yeah,
what kind of Stuka that is, or what kind of battleship that is, and it's interesting stuff. Certainly to an old man like me now.
Well, you think kind of as a country, obviously, with the war being such a massive defining aspect of society, would you agree with that? And that the kind of the war comics
certainly that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, a big thing, and obviously it was changing.
I think Ennis is one of the only sort of modern writers who are still pushing the war story sort of envelope, and I don't mean that in a sense of like, oh yeah, let's go for the boys going into war. No, his stuff is usually the brutality of war, the dark side.
Sara, for instance.
Sara is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
With obviously clearly with a lot of research. I heard him say when he was on Eamon's show, he said he thinks Charleys was the greatest comic ever made.
Wow, okay.
So that you can see that's where his heart lies, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think we said this before, but he was talking to someone. It might have been in Sara, the back matter of that, and they were saying, "Oh, my grandfather served in this unit," and he goes, "Well, what was his service?" And he gave him the years, and he goes, "He would have been stationed there at that point with these people." And then they went and went, he was right. That's what he was, which is fucking amazing to know that off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my challenge to myself then is to read 50 war comics.
Wow. Okay.
I've got 3 months.
Me and Vince got off light. I got one image trade, and he's got a slightly bigger.
But in terms of the 50 war comics, though, what are you gonna go for?
I'm going to spread myself around that. So I'm going to do some American, some British weeklies.
Are you going to break it down into different conflicts? That could be.
No, I think that's going to be too difficult because obviously there's not that many about Korea or the Falklands. There are the odd one about the Falklands on there, but I expect them to be mostly WW2.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Be interesting. Like you've read Onward Towards Our Noble Death, but the war from the other side, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, is it presumably there are comics made, German comics about the war, and
I don't know. Germany's never had a massive comics industry, has it? I don't think it has.
Interesting.
Yeah, I having been into quite a few German comic shops. I've not seen
get results.
Yeah. See what happens. Good. So we've got 3 months. The 13th of November. Dan's reading Volume 1 of Saga. Vince is reading Volume 1 of Akira, and I'm reading 50 war comics. There you go.
Yeah.
Nailed down.
Tony will do that within a week.
I'm going to put that on a post-it note on my computer now. It's safe writing on the actual computer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's too much like hard work, that.
Exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. So obviously that was our sort of little mini list of stuff that we had missed. We have Shame on Us. I mean, I can't believe Tony's read so much he had to pick an entire genre.
I know, but I do feel like I know Kirk Spencer was saying to me you should read it. Now he's a big fan of that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I will do. I'm going to do it. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting with your one as well, like going from there's the real serious, deep and meaningful ones. There's going to be like just classic adventure ones.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For every Saving Private Ryan, there's a Kelly's Heroes. Do you know what I mean? Things like
or there's an EC comic or stuff like that. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what works and what doesn't. But those obviously are particular choices. But we'd love to hear yours. So feel free to message us. But we did actually we put a shout out before the show for a couple of choice picks, didn't we, Tony?
Yeah, we got a few on the Slack. So just a few. I can't think we've got time to read them all. But first up, we got Matt Bunce. He mentioned a few things. He mentioned Saga actually. He said I would like to read all of Doug Munch's Master of Kung Fu. He's read some. Almost lost me as a friend there, Matt. He also said lots of things like Werewolf by Night and Man Wolf again, things I've seen or I'm dimly aware of. Never read Nightfall either. That's one, isn't it? I guess a lot of people probably won't have done. And what else we got? So Jason Garrett.
Nightfall was, for me, that was one of the classic, and I think this could be another show, that so much was talked about it that when I did finally read it, I just didn't get anything from it. I was like, oh, really? It's
a strange one for people reading it now because it's all different art.
Yeah. And it's so 90s as well, isn't it? That's
Nightfall's
really is. Nightfall's the one with the suit of armour, isn't it? Dan?
Yeah, it's where Azrael comes in and breaks he gets his back broken. And then you got Knight's End and Knight's Quest, or whatever they are. Yeah,
that could have been better written, in my opinion. The Nightfall.
Yeah.
It's.
I read the new.
I read the new Azrael issues. They did a special when the first issue come out last week, and they're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were going to get all the Batman villains, we're going to take Batman down. This sounds that could be written so well, but
been done a few times. Yeah. Gene did one of them. Yeah. Jason Garrett-Lee. For me, it's the work of Rumiko Takahashi, especially Maison Ikoku, Urusei Yatsura, and Ranma and a half.
Okay.
She's a fabulous cartoonist, and I really enjoyed what little I have read. There have been lots of lovely reprint omnibuses released over the last few years, but if you know how it is with manga, once you fall behind, they're almost impossible to find again, which is true. I haven't read any of those, actually.
No, it's Ranma's one of those ones that's been around.
Eclipse did it, didn't they? Yeah. The Buntsmeister, he says also Peter Davis' entire Hulk run. That's a good one.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Jordan Thomas said, up until recently, it was more Swamp Thing, but I've rectified that. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run had just started when I got back into comics when I was around 21. It was being praised a lot on shows like iFanboy at the time, and I've been meaning to check it out for the past 13 years, but not gotten around to it. Well, that's the story of comics. We're all like that, aren't we?
Yeah.
The Bunster's back again. Bunster's back with Enigma. There you go. Mr. Russell, Simon Russell. A big thank you to Simon, actually, because he sent me a brilliant Atomic Hercules taking the piss out of Slane sketch through post this week, which I've just shown to Pat, and he loves. And he has said Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh, I've not read too much of that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's cool. What else we got here? Pete Watson, big shout out to the Earth 2 podcast, which I very much enjoy, especially when he does ladies' voices. Makes me laugh. I've got most of Strangers in Paradise, Mage, Love and Rockets, Zot, Grendel, ... and I only read maybe half a dozen issues between them. So there's some classics there. I actually think Zot is a forgotten classic.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I love that book.
Grendel Warchild is fucking amazing. Can't recommend that enough.
Yeah. I bought myself a Love and Rockets t-shirt this week, actually, because that's how punk rock I am.
It's free punk rock.
Yeah, thank you. Matt the Bunster mentions Fables, and Jordan Thomas says, I love Fables. You should read that. Nick Bryan says, thanks to Comixology sales and DC Marvel app, I made a dent in the last few years. Starman recently was another big one off the list. That is a brilliant book. Love that. James Robinson, Starman.
I've never read that.
Very good, man. I think you can get hardbacks fairly easily. It's a classic DC book. I did Peter David's Hulk and X Factor, Sandman, the whole of Fables, Strangers in Paradise, all of Hellblazer except for the Milligan run. So he's saying he used Comixology to rip through a load of stuff. But he says he's got still to do. He's got all 4 Walking Dead compendiums, plus the 3 Criminal deluxe hardbacks. I'd also like to do Mike Carey's Lucifer, which is really good, actually. I hate to say it, but I enjoyed that more than Sandman. And Lone Wolf and Cub, he says as well. What else we got here?
Another note, I wouldn't mind trying to read all the Spawn through and see if it makes any fucking sense. I remember reading it when I was younger, and this doesn't seem to make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, occasionally I try and jump back on it, and I'm like...
kind of at the start it seemed like Todd McFarlane was just changing his idea.
Yeah.
Have we lost Dan again?
I think we lost Dan again.
Yeah, we lost Dan. The heat,
not in our hearts.
The heat is wobbling Dan's internet something chronic.
Yeah, it's just fucking having a meh.
Yeah.
It's always when you're at your most passionate, Dan.
Yeah. It's 20 past 8 every night.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Perhaps you're haunted.
Yeah, ghost in the machine. So that's what we got from the Slackers. That was good of them. Thanks, guys.
Slackers.
Good stuff there.
Yeah, so, if you can, if you have the chance and if you can afford it, maybe pick up that first issue or that first trade or something that you've always been meaning to read.
Let me ask you this then. Is there a comic that you haven't read and you don't intend to read?
Oh, God, there's probably so many.
Can I say mine?
Go on.
Got no interest in Transformers whatsoever.
Really?
I just can't be bothered. Just don't interest me. I don't know why, it just doesn't. It's probably very well... I can imagine it must be a fucking arseache to draw.
Yeah.
But no interest.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I think if I was going to go... I know what I'd go for. probably, and it's never really interested me ever, really. Anything by Crumb.
Okay.
It's just not my... Crumb is just sort of like, just not my bag. And a lot of...
It's very much... You feel a bit dirty after reading Crumb, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't need that to feel dirty.
I actually admire his line work. I think it's original. But a lot of the content, I'm like, it leaves me a little bit or cold.
Yeah.
But some of it, I admit, I have enjoyed some of it. I think visually, some of it looks great.
Yeah.
You know, you can't deny that melting face or the keep on trucking and stuff like that. It does look good. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of some of the sort of early independent stuff just wasn't my bag. But that's because like when all of that was happening, or there was articles about or things like that, my headspace was being formed by the Marvel and the DC. Do you know what I mean? It's a very very different flavour.
But I find I go through phases with reading things where I get really excited about a certain area of comics, and then I'll go back to another area. Like for the last 2 weeks, I've just been reading a trade a day of Star Trek comics, and I've really enjoyed that. And then when I was in,
are these a mix of modern and old, or are they?
A real mix. Yeah, everything from the original Gold Key stuff through to the DC and Marvel stuff through to the new IDW stuff. It's a mixed bag. Star Trek.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
it's a dirty alleyway of bollocks, but
like the series itself, isn't it? You know, there's obviously Strange New Worlds is loved by the world, but some of the other stuff not so.
I wouldn't wipe my arse with some for some of the more recent stuff, but Strange New Worlds. That's what got me, man. That's what got me back into it. And little things it fires you up. Like when we were in Toronto and Charlotte, the access we had to underground comics and indie comics that we'd never seen before really fired up my interest back in that area of stuff. And I bought a load of stuff from that. And it's really experimental. And for about a month, I was just I was all over that, So you can jump about. It's only a medium, isn't it? Yeah. Like being into horror films and being into musicals.
Oh yeah, totally.
That kind of,
I tell you, I mean, because I know how much of a Star Trek fan you are.
Yeah.
And just that whole Star Trek, Dune, and all of that sort of sci-fi.
Yeah.
And you're very literate with it as well. I would love to see you try like a. And when I say it's like a genuine take, not necessarily on a Star Trek title, but create your own
space opera.
Create your own space opera sort of thing. About a ship and a crew and. So
it's such a lovely little playground, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it can be a playground. What I love about Star Trek, it's such a playground for positivity.
Yeah, like the Orville's as well. I just started watching season 3 of that. But that's another sort of thing like that. Yeah, and there's a lot of it like that, isn't there? Lex, for example, Stargate. There's all this sort of stuff that goes on.
The thing is, when the Orville came out, I know Strange New Worlds is out, but before the Strange New Worlds, I think the Orville was the only one doing Star Trek.
It was. It really was.
Yeah.
It was what held my heart open for a while. Yeah.
But I would love to see you because let's face it, we see there's a lot of space opera in comics. There's a lot of and they're always, these guys are space pirates, or they're guardians of the galaxy, or this, that, the other.
Yeah,
there's not so much of just good people just trying to doing the Star Trek
good stuff
model. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a challenge for you, Tony, to do something like that.
Yeah. I just find it difficult not to be that positive. Yeah. What's that book you're into? It would integrate into that, wouldn't it? What's that one?
Out of Darkness, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of those, taking
not Out of Darkness. What was the one about shagging in space? Written by that woman who was all over
Money Shot.
That's it. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Out of Darkness.
That book you was into.
You dirty boy.
Yeah. Money Shot's a great series, actually.
Yeah, it's
That's see, I knew that this topic would go off in all kinds of.
We did. I think you dropped out there, Dan. But I posed the question: is there a comic series that you haven't read and you can't be fucking bothered?
Yeah.
I said Transformers. I've got no interest.
And I picked out Crumb comics.
Yeah.
What would Dan?
Yeah, I've read a lot. I've read Crumb and I've read Transformers.
What about you? Is there anything it leaves you cold, man? Yeah, it's like a whole little area. It just leaves you cold.
Man, there's nothing that immediately springs to mind, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I'm sure, given I come across something and think, oh god, no interest in reading.
What about? Sandman. Have you read Sandman?
No, No, I think I've read the odd issue that I've been given, but I was just
Are you rushing to read it, or
nah, not really. That's why I've not really kind of jumped on the TV series. I don't really have a frame of reference.
yeah, it's just weird. I actually recognise it's a comic series. It just didn't do it for me. I read it once, and that's it. Almost felt like I had to read it because I had to read it.
Yeah. But nothing kind of puts me off more than that.
And I think some series, obviously they're constantly in print because people are talking about them. But when they reach those Guardian lists of like, here are some of the greatest graphic novels ever, blah blah blah. A lot of those they're very dry. And like I say, as soon as I feel like I'm being pressured, like I'm not reading comics properly, if I'm not reading these. No, I don't like this, being pressured into reading it. That's why probably I didn't read a lot. I did not read Watchmen for a very, very, very long time.
I sort of inherently distrust everyone, and I mostly think that people are idiots. So if someone says to me,
that's just the episode in a nutshell.
But if someone says to me, "Oh, you'd love this," it's so you. I think no, I'm never reading that.
That always makes me think. Is that how you gauge my character?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially if it's from someone you think is a fucking idiot.
It says a lot about them. Do you know what I mean?
It could be the best comic in the world, but because they've recommended it,
it's tainted.
Yeah.
Because if you read it and it was fucking amazing, they would always own that discovery to that person, which you didn't really like.
You know yourself as a person, don't you? But sometimes, when you joke with people, the humour, and then they say something like, "Oh, you should check this out because you like it," and you think, "What? What do you think I am?"
And the opposite works for me as well. So I remember one person said to me I should read this, and I read it, and I said I didn't enjoy it for this reason, and the person said, "Oh, you probably didn't understand it," and it almost taints the whole comic to me because this fucking bellend thinks that I didn't understand it. You know what I mean?
So I didn't. Yeah. It's tricky that if you ever had that when someone says, "Oh, listen to this song, you'll fucking love it," and it's does nothing for me, but for them it's fucking amazing. But it's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
To say, "Oh, you don't understand it," is that's
I know. That's almost defensive, isn't it? It's almost like they feel like
Yeah. That's totally it. It is one of those. It's completely defensive and offensive in some ways because you don't understand it.
Because you're not clever enough to understand it, almost like you think, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever, mate."
Yeah, if any creators are creating something that's like, well, if they don't like it, they clearly don't understand it. You're probably a bellend. Because some people will just not get your books. They just won't. It doesn't matter whether you do a humour book.
It's just a taste thing.
It's just a taste
it's all
thing.
subjective. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just got to be like, well, thank you for checking it out, and
not your thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, if it's implicitly like fucking badly handled, and the spelling was all wrong, then say it. But this was a person who was
it's badly made. It's badly made, isn't it?
It's a person who was fairly well known for making comics. And I said, "Oh, I didn't really like this, and didn't get this, and didn't like this," and that's not an answer, is it?
No.
Yeah. Just made me want to kill them.
But Tony's not one for extreme reactions.
No. Why do you say that?
No reason. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say, in the Goodfellas that is this show, he's the Pesci.
That made you De Niro.
Yeah, and you're Leota. You're Leota.
Is this your pen?
Yeah.
I have felt myself doing that. Dan likes doing that thing, doesn't he? That De Niro gif where he's wagging his finger.
Yeah.
You do that a lot, Dan, I've noticed. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Anyway, do we have anything else? Was there anything else? Have we got a couple more questions, or are we just...
Well, the other thing we were going to talk about was the computer-generated art.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. When you brought it up, I think we both sort of collectively slapped our foreheads and said we didn't read the fucking JWC thing on
Yeah,
Comic
I've still
House.
got my list to read, but I feel like I only have one thing I'll say about it, and I feel like I don't understand it from a technical point of view, but my thought on it probably shouldn't be connected to that, because I don't think I like it because it doesn't have a human aspect.
Fair enough.
I believe art is implicitly a creative process that comes from us, as human beings, Unless you're an alien, I would watch porno from an alien. But I don't feel like if it's just sort of generated by a computer, it doesn't have that extra quality to it. Yeah. That's the only thing I wanted to say about it. But other than how it's created, I don't even understand what code is. You know what I mean?
I mean,
don't know what it means. Yeah.
Some would argue like the kind of the thought process you come to and the computer coming to a machine going through an algorithm, they can be comparable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I do see what you mean. I'm not saying there's any kind of magic in it or anything.
No.
That, but I just kind of think we're such complicated beasts and emotions and love and hate and this sort of thing.
The point I was raising, I think JWC kind of gave me an excellent rebuke saying that's not the case, but I was thinking that the only way this AI can generate imagery is because it's pulling from other imagery to reference what it creates. It's like an amalgamation of stuff. So without that stuff to draw on, it can't create something of its own.
I want to tread carefully here because JWC was not in any way just promoting her comic, because she's seriously not like that. But she said she talks about it in her comic called Creating the Code. It's chapter 2, which is on Comic House, which we've all promised we must read this week. We just haven't got around to it. But I want to read that because I think I need to educate myself. She's obviously a very clever person, JWC. So I want to see what she has to say.
I mean, I can understand the concerns of some people. Like, if you're an art editor and you've got to get a bit of art for an article, and you could pay, like, go onto a Shutterstock or something, or you can hire an artist, which is going to be a lot more expensive. So fuck it, just plug it into an AI, generate it a couple of times. Oh, there's an image. It looks a bit weird. We just run with that. Yeah, and you don't have to pay anyone.
Dave McKean's got a book called out, which apparently he created in a week or 48 hours or something, called Prompt, which is about this very thing. I think he's quite sort of computer literate, or he's trying to be Dave McKean, and he's created this book. Unfortunately, it's one of those books that was a limited edition from a specialist publisher and stuff. I'm hoping they're going to really release it because I think it's sold out. But
if you want to know more about this, our pal JWC, it's called Creating with Code, a fun exploration of computer-generated images and machine learning. Because like everything, we just need to be more informed. It's fair enough to have an opinion, but let's get information about it. And one information,
an informed opinion.
JWC, I will say this: she's a doctor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're the doc now. So yes.
DJWC.
Yeah. Dr. JWC.
It's a fascinating subject. I kind of I should really rectify that and read that. I kind of kicked myself the moment you said it too. That I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we kept meaning to, didn't we? It's just one of those things slipped our minds, but I will get to it. Yeah.
So
first computer-generated comic coming up.
Yeah. The thing is, with a lot of especially with this sort of topic, there are a lot of doomsayers. There's a lot of people who extol stuff, but like we say, it's just about being informed. Comics are going to still be there in all their forms, in all their wonderful flavours and styles, and do what's best for you. But I mean, the computer-generated stuff that I won't read is just if you're just depending on Poser.
Yeah.
I
was putting in stupid
photographs.
That Dolly 2 wave. I was putting in stupid shit like Ian Beale's synthwave. So,
I mean, it's great for a good laugh in the office. These things will be stored and come back to haunt our dreams.
I was wondering if we were doing like a massive amounts of work for them, because just by generating all this stuff, and are we giving them
we're becoming
data?
Part of the program? Yeah.
Interesting.
It has to have a human aspect to it. That's all it is. And I think the nature of art is going to change, and the nature of comics is going to change. We have to accept that. It's stopped being about pen, or it's beginning to stop being about pencil on paper.
Without doubt. Yeah.
Even just that, it's going to move on.
It's got to be about stories, narrative. It's got to be something that engages you. Otherwise,
the art of it has to come from the human still. The art, and I don't specifically mean that about what's on the page. There has to be something. There has to be an energy and a spirit, and it's not been been fancy.
Surely there's something that all of us here on this show and you people listening at home, there's bound to be in a book that you've gone, oh wow, well, I don't normally like that kind of stuff, but it was written so well, it was created so well.
It's communicating to me. Yeah.
Trouble is, once if you
off the page,
you was given a book and you was unaware of the artist was this was generated by an algorithm, and he was like, I really enjoyed that. I kind of really connected.
Really
to that
connected
book.
to it, yeah.
And then it was revealed that this was all just generated from like 1,000 Mills and Bones books.
I'd smash the place up.
You're like, oh fuck.
It'd smash everyone up.
But would you? Well, but are you doing that? Just I mean, that's obviously a ridiculous response that Tony said. But let's take that into context. Would you do that because you found? Would you feel like you've been deceived?
To
in
me,
some way?
that's
or
the
is it
equivalent.
the way you feel about how you felt about the book? Because it doesn't.
Yeah,
you still had a reaction to it. So now
I feel like I've been lied to.
You're reacting to your reaction in some kind of way, aren't you?
It's like when a stripper tells you she loves you. That's what happens. That's how I'd feel about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, do we have any shout-outs?
Oh, just quickly, if you are a comics artist, then this is coming your way. Consider maybe taking up plumbing. Yeah, we have got some shout-outs. Yeah.
I'm surprised none of us mentioned Skynet or Terminator there, which is pretty good.
And you know, we didn't mention having sex with robots. I'm proud of you boys. Well done. Yeah.
We've shelved that.
But by mentioning
Dan's
them,
thinking about it.
We have literally mentioned them.
And Dan's still thinking. You can hear it happening.
Sex robots. They're coming. Literally.
What? I was about to say, are they?
I wonder if you could watch two robots having sex now. I bet you can somewhere, can't you?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
I'd imagine.
Put a mirror on my bedroom wall. Hey.
I've got some shout outs. So BAM is coming our way on the 22nd of October.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I got contacted this week by Joseph Simons. We'll be chatting about other guests, but he's going to be there. He's got a table. He said if there's anyone out there who fancies experiencing an almost forgotten format, and he'll be there he'll be bringing Golden Age comics on microfiche for you to look at.
Fuck me. Wow.
How weird is that? It's just a fun thing to do when you're there. So you'll be able to scan through a load of old Golden Age comics to store, the old microfiche. You guys don't remember them, but you used to be able to go to the library and look stuff up on them and things like that.
I remember them.
Yeah. Possibly a future guest, maybe next week. Stephen Ingram's opening a much-needed UK small press distributor, distributing comics from the States and Canada. Follow along for the progress on this at Twitter on Third Bear Press. BEAR, Third Bear Press. I think it's the same on Instagram as well. Much needed. We were having a discussion about it earlier, and we will be discussing it possibly next week with him. But we really need to find a way to get these comics cheaply from America because it's killing us. Get yourself along to Bridlington Comic Con on the 4th of September at Bridlington Spa. I booked my room in the hotel opposite, which looks really dodgy. No disrespect to Bridlington, I'm sure it's a fun town. Not only will there be a wealth of small press comics creators there, Andrew Hempel was very kindly given tables for free to small press creators, and I've bitten his hand off around that. There's a comics art exhibition of the amazing British comics creator John Cooper. I don't know if everyone should know about John. He was an early Dread and 2000 AD artist, and he hails from the area. He also did a lot of other UK weeklies, and there's going to be, he sadly passed away, but his wife is bringing along some of the original pages, which they're going to exhibit there, which is going to be brilliant to see. Really excited by that. I've got two slightly longer ones, but I'll shout out to Kirk, who isn't very well. Kirk Spencer. He hasn't been very well.
Kirk.
So a little shout out to Kirk.
Hope feel better.
Yeah. I've got two slightly longer ones, but did you want to do yours, guys? Or
we've mentioned the Brewgooders Beer and Comics and Podcast Anthology comic already, haven't we?
I don't think we have, mate. No.
Oh, well, there's me mentioning it now.
Yeah,
the Brewgooders have put together a showcase of comic talents to celebrate this year's Scottish Comic Book Day. That could do with a little bit of help. Great bunch of guys. Go check that out.
Well, I actually got that through to read this week.
Oh, there you go.
It's a real mix of different styles, techniques, and genres. There's like some high action twists, historical adventure stories in there, some horror, and there's at least one story that combines the two things of pickles and the satirizing 90s image superhero comics, which was ideal. That's what you need in a comic.
Yeah.
Go back on Kickstarter. The boys are doing the right thing. They run a podcast video thing on YouTube, but they're on Facebook, but they're also putting their money where their mouth is and making some comics as well. So go back that. There you go.
I've got A Fistful of Pain, Kung Fu Sci-Fi Dragon die cut hardcover. Large format one-shot graphic novella about vengeance, dragons, and sibling rivalry from award-winning Ryan K. Lindsay and Louis Joyce. And you can check that out on Kickstarter now. It doesn't
I think
say
it's a sign-up page, isn't it?
Yes, it's one of those notify me
I've
on
done
launch
that.
pages. But I put notify me on launch because they're like
That's
like
what I've
looking
done.
at.
Yeah, it looks ace. Yeah, really good.
Ryan knows what he's doing when it comes to Kickstarters as well. So
Past guest, he gave us some top tips.
Guest, friend of the
He
show.
did. Still ones we mentioned, isn't it? Yeah, we should
Yeah.
get back on, shouldn't we? Really?
Yeah.
I've got one more. Shall I do mine?
Go for it.
Yes.
Shaman Kane issue 8. What awaits on Sigma 958? Brought to you by the One Man Comics Machine that is Dave Broughton, and my buddy. I've collaborated with Dave in the past, and we had a real chuckle, great experience. The 8th issue of the series finds our hero Shaman Kane stumble into a desert town under siege from alien attack beasts. They are scaled, incredibly hard to kill, and there's also something else going on with them, which I won't spoil. There's also another backup story in there. It's 44 pages, full colour, recommended for mature readers. It goes on sale on the 20th of August. It's £6 plus postage and packing. I think it's £9 in all. You can buy a copy by going to PayPal and sending the money to D Broughton, Broughton, D Broughton at hotmail.co.uk. Send him £9 and he'll send you the comic. And it's well worth it, actually. It looks great. 8 issues in a small press title is doing well. Yeah, not many people reach that, do they? And this is always of a great standard. It's got a little, if you're into 2000 AD, you're going to love this, I think. It's got that sort of sci-fi, even a sort of image sci-fi series. It's got that little feel to it. And Dave's colour work, I have to say, really stepped up. Looks really good.
Fantastic.
And there's a few pages in the back that talk about the design of these creatures, which are great, really good. Yeah, that's my last one.
Nice. My one was going to be Bam, but Tony stole that. And I'll be
sorry,
there.
babes.
And I'll be there. If you want to
I'll be there.
If you want to buy some of my tut, buy it. No, it's going to be a great day there. Right.
We're going out to go clubbing afterwards. Roller disco.
Yes. Roller disco.
We can't. Me and you just because it wasn't when we went at it before. It was like the winter thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Winter market, and there was it was really busy, and me and you just sat in a fish and chip shop.
Tony, we'll tell everyone this story of a raucous evening and what happened. We'll do that, yeah. So no one will ever find out what really happened and how we really enjoyed those cocos. Anyway.
yeah. Bag of chips.
Because we're old men. Anyway. Anyway, do we have any recommendations? Of course we do.
Yes, I've got 2.
So do you want to start us off, Tony?
Okay, so my first one is a comic called Sprawl, written by Felix Chong. He's a writer and a poet from Singapore. Art by Arif Rahman. It's published by Marshall Cavendish Editions, 1995. Felix was kind enough to send it to me, actually. Just got a sort of digital copy through from him. It gets a Sin City cited reference, I think, often if you look at the reviews or what people say about it. And it's probably, to me, an easy go-to because of the style of comic. It's black and white art, and it uses it's got a use of single colour. To me, it's not a bad touchstone if you're thinking about buying it. The art is more straightforward than the goats, than Frank's work in it. Less heavy metal, I would say, than in less metal, if you see what I mean. But it's a hard-boiled noir detective fiction. The detective is a guy called Jack Lee. His assistant is called Jack Lee, and a girl with a mysterious past. So it's got that noir setting. Stories are these 3 stories intersect at a murder scene of a 20-year-old murder where the victim has turned up again. So it's like there's a genuine sort of mystery at the heart of it. The cover's interesting, but it's got. I think when you create a cover, there's this theory, isn't it, where your eyes fall. Do you know this thing, guys, where your eyes are automatically
where it's drawn to? Yeah.
And there's almost an area on a cover which is almost, if you draw lines from each corner, you can almost, that's where your eyes fall. And it's slightly, I think this cover works not brilliantly because it's slightly off. Your eyes fall on this big block of very bright red colour he uses on the cover, which is the hair of the girl who's being sort of cradled by the detective. Interestingly, always remember to send the cover when you send the PDF because it didn't come through this. I actually had to Google it. So it might not be the finished cover that I saw. But it was good. It has a good storytelling vibe, which I'm all for, and it's consistent throughout it. Another difference between this and Sin City, this is much more of a poetic noirish style than just a straight hard-bit noirish style you see in Sin City. It makes for very strange brew, actually, and I became more and more fond of it as it progressed. You just give it some time. There's order in the sprawl, no matter how silent or small, is one line. So, for example, that gives you that sort of, because the guy's a poet as well, so it gives you that little taste of it, which I like that sort of thing. It's written, there's a rhythm to it. It's strangely, this poetry gives it a strange feel. It's not quite what you expect from a noir book, but it gives it this extra dimension. And I did really ultimately enjoy it quite a bit. It caught me out about halfway through, and I thought, I was kind of reading it. Oh, I'm digging this now. I'm getting into it. So give it a chance as you read it. And it uses all the non. There's some interesting non sequitur move between scenes as well, which I thought was interesting. And it does resonate at a slightly different frequency than what we're normally used to. The art looks reasonably simple, but it uses some interesting splash pages that almost homage. What are those movie posters where they strip away everything other than the single image of the movie? You're not, if it was the movie Hook, you just get a picture of a hook.
Oh, yeah, I know the ones. I can't recall the name of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he uses that strong single central image in a lot of the splash pages and not overly noodled, which is quite interesting. It came out on the 1st of July of 2022, but if you go to Felix Chong, FELIXCHEONG, felixchong.net, you can find a copy of it. Thanks to him for sending it through. It made a really different... I'm a fan of poetry, weirdly, and I'm a fan of comics, and this kind of... There was a feel of combining it here. And it's called Sprawl. There you go. It's my first one.
Nice one. I missed a recommend in the recommend section. So I'm going to quickly get it. Tony, your
a shout out in the shout out.
Yeah, shout out. Your fucking podcast with Stuart Mulrain on Out for Justice as a gal. Oh man, I was cracking up. It was absolutely golden. So,
thank you, mate. Cheers.
Stuart Mulrain's done on the And Why Not podcast. He's done a Summer of Action specials. It's closing this week with Face Off with Rachel Lee Carter.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that'd be a good one. And
Yeah.
Tony did Out for Justice.
Best film I've made.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that one now because, yeah, maybe I've overlooked that one because it sounded fucking amazing. And then
I wasn't quite sure how Stuart took it when I said, "Look, if there was a Mount Rushmore of actors for me, Stephen Scal would be two of the faces." Yeah.
Oh god.
That's out. I did Cobra. Did you do one,
classic.
V? You get a chance to do one?
I haven't done one this time, man. For a while.
Next time.
Don't
Stuart.
Don't huff at me like
No,
that.
I think it's Stuart.
Next time,
I'm not
baby.
getting you on.
Next time it's Tango and Cash all the way.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's been covered. No, it hasn't.
Claudia Christian.
Because there's two things I like in this world: Cash and Apple Tango.
Shall I go on to my recommendation?
Yes, please. That'd be lovely.
From Altruist Comics. I fucked that up. I read as part of their small press day, they were giving away 2 of their comics, which I thought was absolutely a great idea. And on the Twitter account, you either liked for one and you retweeted for the other. And I liked the one called Bullet, and they sent me a copy of it.
Okay.
And this is a synopsis for Bullet. Bullet is a Silver Age-inspired superhero romance. After college student Dale D'Souza suddenly develops super speed, he splits his time between fighting villains and courting one of the researchers, helping him to find out more about his powers. With this combination of thrilling adventure and budding romance, Bullet should equally appeal to everyone from middle-aged fans of classic superheroes to teenage readers of shoujo manga. Story by Randy Stone and Jordan Alascala. Art and color by Kath Lobo, and letters by Lucas Gattoni. Yeah, the art style in this, I'd recommend. It's kind of equidistant between the old superhero style and like more manga-ish stuff that you might see on like webtoons.
Okay.
It's really accomplished, really well done. I was very impressed. There's a lot of perspective shots of the city that were like, fucking hell, I can really appreciate the kind of the craftsmanship and the skill gone into this. Story-wise, it's reminiscent of Richard Carrington's Limits, and I'm not sure if you guys have read that, but it's where that's kind of like the ending to that is quite down. This is a similar tale, but more upbeat ending. Essentially, this guy gets superpowers, super speed. There's no origin explained, but he has it, and then over the years, you see him using these powers and the kind of the way it plays out. But it kind of sets up the story a certain way, and you think, okay, this is what it's going to be about. And then the last page is a bit of a bloody hell, I didn't see that coming. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cracking comic, really fun one and done comic.
Oh, cool.
If you go to Altruist, altruistcomics.com, ALTRUIST comics.com. You can find the selection of titles there, which they've got 5 titles: Bullet, Crime Pays, Death in Comics, and The Sensational Swan. So go check them out. Nice to see a nice upcoming company sort of putting their money where their mouth is, putting out comics.
Exactly.
Yeah, get on with it. Yeah.
That's great as well. That sort of like and you get one comic, retweet, you get another.
Man, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah,
and it just helps put the good word out in a really positive way, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Win-win.
Yes. Speaking about positive, talking about comics, my recommendation is less a book. It's not a podcast. It's a YouTube channel by one of our former guests, Comics by Perch.
Yeah,
I highly recommend this. I've been watching a few of them, watching/listening. They're mainly an audio medium. They're almost like mini podcasts in a way.
You don't need to watch it, do you? You can just have it in your ears.
There's no visual thing, is there?
Easily digestible, and unless he's specifically talking about a certain page or a certain design or something like that. They're very well thought out, sort of just musings on the industry. These can be about the ups and the downs of the industry. He's got interviews with creators such as we did Mark Miller recently. There's Dan Panosian. There's lots of creators that he's
Sean Gordon Murphy, I think he has back a few times, doesn't he?
Yeah. But each one, I mean, it's interesting sort of when you look at the whole page, seeing which ones have got more views than others, which is always fascinating with our podcast anyway. But it's because you don't have to watch all of them, but but you can pick and choose what he talks about, and it's always fascinating. Whether it be like the industry itself, and sometimes there's been how people react to him reacting about the industry.
Yeah.
But one of the ones that and they're always, unlike this show, always informed. But one of the about Valiant Entertainment being in trouble.
Oh, I saw this one. Yeah.
Have you watched that one?
I think so, yeah. Which I think we were talking about it. It's really pissed me off. I love Valiant.
Yeah. It's great content all the way through, and I just highly recommend it. Like because the way I think Perch. Does he work? He has a comic book store, doesn't he?
I think he's he has had or he's about to open another one. Or is that right?
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
The
thing about Valiant, man, I'll tell you. I don't know if I shared this with you, but when I was in Heroes, I bumped into Dinesh Shamazani, who I'd met once before in New York, and I just sort of he was with a couple of the guys he was going around with the whole weekend, and I said, "Oh, sorry, just to interrupt, sort of say hello again," and he said, "Oh, hello," and I said, "Look, can you go back to Valiant, please?" Because it's gone to shit.
Yes,
and he literally said to me, "I really wish I could," and he meant it really, really meant it. He's a massive comics fan.
It got bought to get strip mined, didn't it?
Yeah, for IP. Yeah. And that night was the big auction. So they have a big auction. I think it helps raise money for the next year or something. I can't remember what it is now. But there was like a piece being bidded on. I can't remember which it was. And it was like 1,200, 1,300. And he just put his hand up and said, $5,000. Like that, and everyone just fucking cheered.
Well, baller.
And they just said, "It's yours now, boy. There you go." And what a dude! And the nicest dude was there. And that Z from who did Sara, that comic company. He was there as well.
TKO.
Yeah, TKO. He was there as well. I said hello to him. He was there, wandering around that auction as well.
Oh man, what's that guy's name?
Z TZE.
Yeah.
There was a few people with a few quid in that room. I can tell you. Yeah. Because I got a bidding number, and I thought, fucking hell, I'm gonna have to hide this because I don't want to put it in there. And then I had to hide it in my pocket because Cliff and Adam kept trying to nick it off me to wave in the air.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
Circling back to Perch, one of the things I like about him, he's able to put his finger and express the opinion that I have, but don't have the ability to express it quite as well as he does. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like you're taking a topic and it's like, you kind of collated the thoughts that I have on it, and you presented it in a way that's like, that's spot on.
Yeah, and I'm glad because he's a sensible dude. He's like us. He's not aligned with any of the fucking nonsense.
Yeah,
And it was nice to see that Mark Miller did us and he did him as well. He guested with him as well, didn't he? And I like that. Yeah, because I find him very like-minded. Yeah, as Miller is, I think.
So and it's sort of it's certainly his channel's more of a comics news thing rather than this show. Whether it be the Valiant stuff. Looking at the pages, why does Image stick with the direct market? Will Discovery sell DC? There's lots of things going on, but it's just a great. If you haven't checked any of those videos out yet, just do, because there's a plethora. I mean, I can't remember how many months ago Perch was on the show now.
About 6 months ago, at least.
Yeah. 6 months.
He said he'd love to come back on, so maybe.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
So I think it's great to check out as well. I love a well-informed opinion, because certainly if you go on the internet or YouTube, there's a lot of people just fucking ranting about stuff.
Oh, never.
And
people just making content for making content and getting advertising revenue. Yeah,
and a lot of them are like, get stuffed with your over the top, sometimes bloody hateful opinions. I want someone who actually loves comics and actually thinks about it and wants comics to do well. And
do you know what puts me off is I like people who just talk about it, and we're fucking awful for this as well. We're the opposite of helpful. But I like these people. They rant about something, and then you get asked, "Can you go to my Redbubble store and buy a t-?" You're like, "Oh, fuck off." I mean, we barely even say whether we've got comics out these days.
Yeah.
We should really
do.
Because we all got fucking comics
buy
to
our
sell.
stuff. Buy our stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony. So Tony, what was your take us home?
My final one is one I read this morning over breakfast before I walked into the comic mart, and it was Cold Iron issue 1 to 4. It's a mini series written by Andy Diggle, illustrated by Nick Brokenshire, our buddy, and they're both co-creators on it actually. Coloured by Triona Farrell. Really nicely coloured, actually. Lettered by Simon Boland. I don't know if you know this, but I think Simon Boland letters everything. Designed by Tom Mueller, and it's a Comixology original. It's a mini-series, but I'm hoping, I had a little conversation with Nick about it earlier, I'm hoping there's more. I don't know, I don't think I can say what I'm going to say about that. But and I hadn't seen anything from Andy Diggle for a while, actually. I don't know why.
No. Yeah.
Maybe I was just in the wrong circles, but I can't think of anything at the moment. It's a modern horror fantasy that begins when the veil is breached between a fantastical Celtic world and creatures come over to the modern world, our world. But it's set on the Isle of Man. So it's got a real... I've never been to the Isle of Man. Have you been there, guys?
No, never.
No.
I don't know if it's like a bit of a centre for, I don't know, fucking ley lines or something like that. But there's obviously some folk horror that... You can tell Diggle's done his research on the island. I don't think he's from there, maybe, but... The lead of the story is a girl called Kay. She's 20-something folk singer, and she's sort of stuck in a rut. She's got an on-off boyfriend who's called Rory, and Rory's on at her. I have a theory that will come out of this in a second, but he's already on about forget this guitar playing and take up a job in the chip shop because you'll actually make some money. And she doesn't want to stay there. She's talking to her gran about possibly going to London, but there's something more about her gran as well. You begin to realise that there's a touch of the witch about her gran, and you don't know whether that's carried through to her. Then one night she's around her gran's house and sort of playing a guitar for her gran, and there's a phone call from Rory, and he says, "Look, I need picking up from this party," and she's had a drink, but she doesn't. So he gets talked into going and picking him up in the Land Rover. But on the way there, she swerves to avoid this sort of girl in a white dress who's in the road, crashes the car over a bridge into the water, gets out to find the young girl, but who we find out is called Mona. But the girl is definitely strange. There's something weird about her. She's sort of rambling about being there. She doesn't really understand what a road is and stuff like that. And then they're confronted by this massive... It's a funny bit, actually, where she says, "Oh, what was that in the bushes?" And she looks at it, and there's this black goat looking at her. And you know goats have got weird... Oh, you see goats every day, don't you, V?
Oh, all the time, yeah. I'm surrounded by them.
And this goat's got weird eyes. And she says, "Oh, it's all right, it's only a goat." And then the goat starts talking to her, saying, "I'll make you love me." And I'm thinking, fuck me, that's what I say for women.
Jesus.
But, and then they run off, and I won't spoil the rest there, but it's an absolute cracking read. Nick's artwork is next level great for him. I said to him, actually, I feel a bit of... There's like almost like a... Your work has gone into like Steve Parkhouse thing, but with Steve Dillon's facial acting stuff going on. But both those artists, for me, are great storytellers as well. There's no, it's not overly complicated, but they're telling the story really well, and he's doing that. But then again, saying that, there's no skimping on landscapes, and there's bits with stone-clad village housing and stuff like that. Some of the character design's really good. There's some really sort of monsters that appear. Won't spoil it, but as the series goes on, and it's just one of those sort of genuinely fun standalone comic series that I mentioned earlier. I said I would talk about this, but yeah, it's just fun to read. You don't have to know about the Green Lantern Corps or what's happening at the fucking X-Men gala or anything like that. It's just this fun thing. You can find it on its own and read it. It is getting a physical copy, asked Nick. He said, yeah, it's going to be a trade. And what it does, as I spoke about previously with that book Harvest, which is another folk horror book, is it builds the character of Kay up. Before you drop her into any kind of problems or danger, you begin to know her and sense who she is and what she can do. So it's nice like that. I love the character development in a horror story or in any kind of comic, really. You have to develop the character to make it interesting, which is why a lot of the Image stuff didn't work when the first time you see them is they're jumping out of a plane, But big shout out to Trina Farrell. Art colours are really good, and they really complement Nick's line work. Just beautiful stuff. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can read it for free. I'll be grabbing the trade as well. It's got some sort of light-hearted banter as well. There's a moment where grads go all about you've got to do this if there's beasts, you've got to fight the beasts and all this sort of thing, and she gets accused of going a bit Bruce Campbell, and she says, oh, who's that? The man that makes the soup. Really? Campbell soup. There's little things like that thrown in, which I think you need in this sort of story. I have a theory. It's about the war of the sexes.
Okay.
Because every woman in it is good, every man in it is awful and evil, literally evil, and the villain. So I think there's a bit of a sort of through line in this around the skills and the powers of witches compared to the men. It's an interesting parallel. Once you start thinking about it, you can't stop thinking about it, because you seemingly proven right every new character, But yeah, it's something to think about. Watch out for the spoilers at the end of issue 3. It's fucking brilliant, really good. I know I put the cover up on the little chat group we have with Mr. Curry, and he said that's a great cover, and I think it's the sort of really iconic covers, and which I think Comixology have got a grip of now, because they know it appears in a thumbnail on a web page.
Yeah. I will say this was one that was on the list because I'm attempting to go through some of those. I think the Comixology originals and some of those titles that you can, like I say, take them out like a library. You can read them and return them. I attempted to. I've got a couple of titles lined up. I attempted to try and read them on the desktop. Absolutely unusable. So I've got to.
Right.
Yeah, I
read mine on an iPad.
Yeah, and I think that's the way I'm going to have to go, because it's really, if you just say you're just working at your computer and just wanted to take 5 minutes and just boot up your browser and read it that way, awful.
All right. So
it stopped me there. So because I don't want to see the next page before, I don't want to be spoiled for it. They have a sort of guided view, but it's so janky that you see the next page while you're looking at the panel by panel of the page before.
Right.
It's twisted. But this is definitely one on my list that I want to read, man. So
okay, good. Yeah, I recommend it, man. And obviously Nick knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
There's a touch of, in fact, it was Nick who got me into Comixology, weirdly, because you remember back when we first knew him, he gifted us the Amelia Cole book. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I fucking loved that, and there's a touch of her about this as well. Which I really like Amelia Cole, and I bought the collection of it because I enjoyed the Comixology one as well. But there's a bit of that about it. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Great. And this episode has been filled with lots of great comics that you should check out, and as well as us just rambling about them and all kinds of things. Yeah. While we all lose probably about 15 pounds in body weight from the humidity that we're currently suffering from.
It's awful. Yeah.
It's all for you. So we hope you enjoyed this week's episode and everything we talked about. If there's anything upcoming such as like a small press event or an independent comics day. We hope everyone that had small press day had a fantastic time, no matter what you're doing, like whether it be Coco Comic Con, etc., etc. But if there's any other upcoming events, especially charity stuff, we want to do some good in this world and give money to good causes. So let us know about them. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @theawesomepod, where we'll be retweeting, asking questions. Basically, get involved with us on the social media. If you do the Book of Faces, go to facebook.com/awesomecomicspodcast. And there's the community group Awesome Comics Talk on there, which is full of great people, as is the Awesome Comics Podcast Slack group, full of different channels, different topics of conversation, whether it be creating comics, selling your comics, just some, there's some comics you can buy for cheap, but there's all kinds of great discussions going on there. And so, and if you want to know how to join, then just get in touch with us.
Any of us will let you in. Yeah.
Exactly what Dan said.
Yeah, fire off a link, no problemos.
Yeah. I mean, he said it extremely quickly, but what Dan was saying then was
a burst of energy.
Thank you for listening to us, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave a review. It helps get the word out about the show and algorithms, etc., etc., etc. As long as it's all for the good of comics, that's what we're here for. Also on other networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What other networks are we on, Tony?
We're on Pod. Call me Toby.
Don't, because I will. I might accidentally.
You said you were going to when I told you about this.
Yeah, I've called you many things, haven't I, Boney?
Boney Desmond.
Anyway, we have had fun tonight, so we hope you have a brilliant week, no matter where you are in the world. We hope you're doing okay, because we love you very much, don't we, Tony?
Why are you coming to me first?
Why not?
Stop being argumentative.
I'm not being argumentative. You're being argumentative.
This is an argument. It's just repetition. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Monty Python.
It all comes back.
Yeah. But where can people find you, Dan, online?
You can find me on Twitter @Vanguard. You can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com. Issue 20? Is that someone? I always forget.
You should know.
Yeah, it's wrapping up soon. So there's some big frills and spills coming up in the next couple of pages. So stay tuned.
He will break your heart and blow your mind, that lad. Where can people
Hopefully
find you?
Hopefully he won't blow you. Neveronanything.com. Thank you very much, babes.
You got to be part of his Patreon for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
it's only the third level. There are higher ones.
Yeah. Is it £2.50 a month? No.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you? It's $3.75. Anyway, you can find me online @Jester Diablo. Thank you very much for listening to three sweaty men waffle about comics for the past couple of hours. But no, in all seriousness, we hope you have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics, keep creating loads of comics, and I don't know. I guess what else should they do, guys?
Stay awesome.
There you go. They've told you, so now you've got to go ahead and do it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.